Hi everyone, it's Connie and
I'm Willie.
Yes.
She forgot my name, so she wanted me to.
No, I just wanted you to say it. So, thanks for joining us today. It's another beautiful Sunday here in Texas. Hope you guys are enjoying your day, or whenever you listen to this, that you're having a beautiful day.
Listen, this has been a beyond beautiful weekend.
Yeah, after having rained for like 2 weeks straight.
And the temperature was wonderful, and it's just been
Yeah.
phenomenal. I loved it. Oh, did you hear that?
So-
lead? I loved it.
You loved it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I led you there.
Okay. Speaking of loved, that's what we want to talk about today.
Right.
So, we want to discuss a little bit how our views have changed on how we see people
That's it.
and the things that used to panic us.
Yeah, that's it.
I guess that's the word.
Or shock.
Don't so much panic us anymore.
Right, that's it.
Okay. So, go ahead.
So, Connie, what do these four people have in common? The adulterous woman,
Okay.
Mary Magdalene, the tax collector, and even Paul.
Okay. Well, they were all involved in morally unacceptable behavior,
Right.
right?
One,
Adulterous behavior,
one was a
prostitute. Paul had murdered, or no, he didn't murder directly, but he had ordered people to murder.
And the tax collector was known for being a thief, because that's what tax collectors did.
They still do sometimes.
Well,
but we won't go there.
We're not going
today.
to political much today, so
Just had to add that little funny
yeah,
in there.
it's truth. So,
But it is a good view, that reminder of even people in our day
that's right.
that are thieves, whether it be in government or whatever, maybe viewing them a little differently.
Prostitutes.
Yeah, I mean, it's all here today too.
Right. We can list all those things.
Yes.
And
Any kind of sexual immoral behavior you can think of, right?
right. In fact of the matter, Connie, you know this to be true. If you hear, it just depends on the person. Joe is such and such, such and such, and everybody
he's
has
this or he's involved in that, and
he's definitely gonna
go to hell.
Yeah. Yeah. But we're not laughing at that.
No.
It's a response that we have, and
Because we used to be those people.
Yeah, we would say.
And we still have to have reminders, right?
Yeah, and sometimes we would say they were,
They certainly cannot be saved.
They can't be saved.
They cannot be a believer if they're involved in this lifestyle.
Right.
Man, I tell you. Well, let's go into your closet a little bit. Let's go into the privacy of your own home and some of the things that, you think is a big deal out here, and you think, well, at least I'm not doing that and I'm not doing that. Mm-hmm. Well, what's the little stuff that you're doing?
Right.
And I'm just saying you in general, like us, right? Mm-hmm. This is what we do, though.
But we do. We level the type of sin, and depends on the type of sin.
No, and I will say, there are certain activities that have different repercussions sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
If I smoke for 50 years, I have more of a chance probably of
having COPD or
things like that, and it's not picking on people that, but there just are some natural
that's just the way
consequences, or like to say cause and effect.
That's it. And that's what we have to understand. Sure, there's things that there is an effect from it, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about how God views them and loves them.
So, we're all into commands, right? The 10 Commandments. Well, but what did Jesus say? Jesus says, a new command I give you. And this is the only command that we are to even be concerned with. And that is, love one another as I have loved you.
That's it.
Love one another. That's John. I don't think I have the full reference, but it's in John. So, love one another.
Right.
That's the command.
So,
and it's not even a command like, oh, you better or else. It's like, this is the focus. This is what's important, right?
Right. It's not Connie. It's not love one another unless they are a prostitute, a tax collector, or whatever it is that we're talking
Whatever
about.
we want, we put whatever we label a person, right?
Yeah. And I think that this has been a tragedy because, we forget that, and what it does is it hinders us whenever it comes to sharing the love of God or ministering to that person or giving encouragement.
And our whole life's a ministry, so we should just be natural in just extending ourselves to people, right? You know what I mean? I guess that's the word, because we are literally how things get done on earth. We want God to do all these things, but we're the ones, because He lives in us, we're the ones that get the things done. We're the ones that show His love, right?
Right.
We're the ones that bring food to the needy, or, you've got doctors that help heal people, and on and on. We are the ones. So
the homeless and so on and so forth. There's so many areas that we can list there. And
see, so what I talked about earlier this week on Facebook, about how we find out somebody's involved in something, and we just close the door on them.
Right.
And God is all about keeping doors open.
That's it.
And I'm not saying that there's some doors that need to be closed, especially if you're not safe or it's just not good for you, right? There are people and relationships that doors do have to be closed, but I think that's few and
that's
far
not
between.
What you're talking about. You're talking about somebody's, maybe they're.
Well, we just have certain things that we're not comfortable with.
Right.
And I don't know, perhaps kind of what God has called us to, perhaps that's why maybe it's getting easier for us to not be panic about all these things that people are involved in, because we're around people and go minister in the prisons all the time to people who have done anything imaginable that we can think of, probably.
And beyond imagine.
And so maybe that, and learning to see through the eyes of God rather than see the behavior. Because God, that's what God does. We had written down that, he even with all those people that we mentioned, them being involved in all these activities, right? Jesus accepted the person.
Right. Right.
See, the behavior is different from the person.
Right. And so, in fact of the matter, when we mentioned the adulterous woman, we had mentioned Mary Magdalene. He didn't go to the adulterous woman when they brought her to him and say, "Well, you little whore." He didn't say that to him. He didn't call her name.
And he was giving them the law, because according to the law, that woman should have been killed.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
And they forget that they were the very ones too also involved in all this, because there had to be a man involved in all this too, right? It wasn't just the woman.
Right.
But that was the culture.
Right.
Right?
Right. And he didn't say you need to repent and beg for forgiveness. He simply said to her, "Go and sin no more."
And we've got that all taken out of context
Wow.
too. Do you think she never done anything wrong again? No. But you have to know well, okay, so what has changed our view?
Well, understand.
What has changed our view? What has been the instrumental thing that has caused us to see people differently?
Well, understanding how God sees us. Just
Exactly, 100%. We expect people to act a certain way and not do this or that, and then when they have no clue of just the value they have and how God sees them, right? They don't even know how loved they are.
I think that's a key thing, because we base our love on how we're loved in society.
And everything, and how you're loved in society is all about behavior.
Right. And God's love is not like that at all.
That's hard for us to get past as humans.
Right.
It really is.
It's hard. Two things that I can think of. It's hard for us to be allow people to love us unconditionally.
That's hard too. You're right. Because we don't love ourselves.
Right. And the other thing is loving other people the same way, because we have this mindset. You know, we talked about this. I'm just going to go here for just a second. I don't want to get off too much, but how God taught me about loving you. And you know, whenever there was a time that I was really frustrated with her, and God just real quickly he told me to go buy her a gift, and I was like, hey, buying her a gift, I'm mad at her, you know. And after it was all said and done, I bought a gift, and it was an empty box, and he reminded
on top it says love grows here. And what did he tell you to do?
Write a letter to you.
But to leave what?
It empty.
Because
and that's the thing, you know.
Why was that though? Because
he doesn't harbor.
The box is empty.
Right.
We don't have this box where Jesus is keeping all our wrongs against us.
That's it. That's what I'm trying to say.
And so, and for you, God was speaking through you, because I had a hard time loving myself, and I didn't see myself the way God saw me at all.
Well,
and it came out in a lot of different behaviors.
And God was teaching me how to love you the way He saw you. And the way He
and that helped you even to see yourself.
Ooh, yeah.
You know.
And so it was.
I still have that box, and it's still empty. It still has a little heart says, you know,
I love you. I think.
I know that the box wall. Anyway, yeah, but it was the fact that you would hold nothing against me, and God doesn't hold anything against me.
That's it. And I think that's what we have to, you know, how God sees us is just amazing, you know. And I was thinking about all the people in the Bible, like, you know, even if you go through it, you know, Gideon thought he was the lowest of lowest, but God called him a mighty man of valor. You know, Joseph was a slave, but God said he was going to be a great leader. And you go on and on and on, you see that God didn't see people the same way that
he wouldn't, and things that happen. I mean, he was the biggest job he's got is getting us to get past ourselves.
Yes.
You know, if that makes sense. You know, like, okay, I need you to. So why don't we just give the famous love verse? But you know, I used to think I had to produce these things, and if I didn't produce these things, then I was a failure. And by golly, God's not in me. God can't love me. You know, but now when I see this as God, it completely changes it.
Yeah.
So 1 Corinthians 13:4, you all know this, most of you. God, I'm going to say God, because God is what? Love. God is patient. God is kind. God does not envy. God doesn't boast. God is not proud. God does not dishonor others. God is not self-seeking. God is not easily angered, and God keeps no records of wrong. God does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. God always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. I like that. God never fails.
Yeah.
So, if God is love, we have God in us, we have love in us, right?
Right.
We can bear all these things. It's Him bearing. It's His fruit. It's Him.
That's what we think, that we're trying to draw something up from an empty well.
And we feel like it's not there.
Right.
It is there. And granted, there's a lot of things in our own thought patterns and things that we've experienced that prevent us from really letting ourselves bear all that God is, right?
Right.
And that's a lifetime process of working through things. Because let me tell you, my love fails.
Every day.
My love doesn't always protect. My love is sometimes very self-seeking. I would say all the time, right? My love, right? I mean, it puts it differently when you put it back to ourselves. I don't always hope.
Right. But God does.
I don't always persevere. I don't always protect. You know, I mean, we could go on and on. Do I dishonor people sometimes? Absolutely, right? So whose love are we talking about?
Right.
It's not our love.
And I think that that's a key thing, is even understanding that we're drawing from not an empty well, but the well of God, which is full of love. And when we start allowing that to happen, then what we see is we actually, first off, which is, I think, is a key thing, is start seeing ourselves differently. And
Right, because I think there was another one I was going to. But anyway, if we can't do that, then I would say it's impossible to really give others the love, because my jack up was I did not see myself correctly at all, and I projected everything I saw about myself onto others. You know, I just did.
Yeah, and I think that,
and you know, we still do that,
right.
but it's a lot less. I mean, I tell you, it's like 80% different now than it used to be.
And then what's really cool is too, when you do find yourself projecting it, you can catch yourself and you can say, hey, wait a minute. That's not how God sees me, and it's not how they see them.
Right.
And I think that's a key thing. It's kind of strange, Connie, because I found the more I get settled in his love, knowing that he loves me, period.
And in his love, the way, what we just mentioned, he is that way toward us.
Right.
This is how he is in us toward us.
And I see some things happening. Well, last week I had a young man that come to my office, and he was telling me that he's good, and what it was about. He's using drugs in a serious way, and he's telling me he's really good. And I got angry, not at him, but because he believed that the life he was living was okay for him. And as I started talking to him, and
Like, this is good enough.
yeah, and I said, look, I'm not saying anything that because I'm angry at you, but I'm angry at the lie that you're believing about you. And he just started listening.
See, what if we said that to people? Oh, man. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, that's what happened. All of a sudden, he started listening. And the next thing you know, this kid is bawling his eyes out. My heart's broken. Everybody that's in the office with me, their heart's broken. And the next thing you know, we're able to pour into this guy. And then we said, look, you're not alone. We're here with you. We want you to know we care about you. And we want to see, you know, this you that God sees in you.
Because that's key right there.
Yeah.
I mean, see, we're getting a panic, and there's certain lifestyles people will be in, or, you know, and I grant it, that's sometimes the first response we have, but then, you know, God kind of settles us, you know, because there's been things that, you know, we'll react immediately out of something, but we think we got to call it out.
Right.
And if we don't call it out,
then
you know, just because we don't call out something doesn't mean we condone the lifestyle.
Right.
It means we love the person more and care more about getting to know the heart of the person, right? Getting to know who they really are. What are they believing? What's caused them to believe this?
You said something.
You know, that's a big difference than calling it out and thinking, okay, well, I can't be a part of that person's life, or go do this with them because it's like I'm saying it's okay. I used to feel that way. That was heavy burden on me. I used to feel that way. If I don't say something, then I'm just like, I gotta correct.
And I think you said it right. We want to call it out, and God wants to call them out, the true them out. And that we do that with love by speaking truth about them, you know. And I think that's the difference. You don't have to, my goodness, you don't have to focus on the sin, if you will, because they already know they're a mess. You know, the lifestyle, whatever it is, they already know that's...
You know, they may be suppressing it, but...
Yeah. But when we start talking, you know, showing them how much Father loves them, and his willingness to, Jesus never,
being his voice in their
Yeah.
life. And his voice is not just like with the adulterous woman.
yeah,
He didn't go and say,
you
call
little,
that out and, you know,
you little hussy. He didn't say
well,
that.
you know,
to
but
him.
we say it in our own way.
Mhm.
We think we're doing it. Oh, we're loving them because we're calling it out.
That's right.
Well, you know what? I say more than not, or more so, sometimes we don't even need to say anything in regarding that. Sometimes we just need to love them, treat them as a person, a human, right? There's something else I was going to say about leaving the door open. You know, when we're not always correcting them
Right.
or throwing a scripture reference at them. I'm not saying that Bible's not important, but people need to know and experience the real God.
Right.
And until they understand things, just throwing a scripture out sometimes is not going to help them.
Right. Right.
They need to feel the hands and feet of love from somebody, which is God, right? And if you don't correct them, you just love them, build a relationship with them, just keep a door open. Then when something's happened and a crisis comes, who are they maybe going to come to? More than likely going to come to you. And then now the door's going to be open even more toward on their end, that they're going to be able to get advice from you. Maybe God's going to say, now is the time that you discuss this. And it's going to happen naturally. And then they will listen.
Mm-hmm. Connie, I was just thinking as you were saying that we have a real habit of doing that, where we want to correct them in a lot of different areas, even in their beliefs. And I was thinking about how we can even try to call out Christians because they don't believe the same way. And we're learning that
You're a heretic. And then we go name calling, and
and we're learning that that's
we're all on this journey, right?
Yeah, we're all on a journey, and that's not even necessary. You know, I think that the more you're secure in His love and the truth about His love, His grace, His mercy, our salvation, our eternity, then we can love a person right where they're at, even in their journey, even whenever we believe
Differently.
Yeah, we believe differently. And we can strongly believe they're wrong, but we can be so wrong if we're like,
Being right.
man, can you imagine? You know,
Could be
I'm not
wrong,
gonna
being
talk-
right.
I'm not going to talk to those folks because they don't believe the same way I am, you know? And you may not be able to be best friends because
Yeah, and I realize there's, you know, we all know that we won't listen to certain people if we don't agree with what they're saying,
Absolutely.
you know. But God has really been getting me in line with, okay,
just love them.
what? No, but like, I'm saying people you're not able to be around. Like,
Right.
I'm saying even big time preachers, right? And we found out a lot of what they teach is totally wrong, right?
Well, we believe it's definitely wrong, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but I still have to let God still help me see them through His eyes. And it doesn't mean they're not His child.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
We think just because they've done all this error, that doesn't mean they're not His child.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that we just cut it off. We think, oh, they can't be a Christian.
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing that we need to have a tender heart about is, you know, the more we understand how much He loves us, then we can allow ourselves to love everyone while they're going through their journey trying to experience God. And that's something that's been teaching me, you know, because
Yeah, I mean,
let's face
and
it.
let me tell you, we're good at doing this, right? We're good at saying, okay, so-and-so's child. Well, look at them. They're involved in drugs, and they're involved in, you know, alcohol, or they're in whatever it is. We can look at somebody else's child and say, man, I'm glad my child's not, man.
Right.
You know, we think we got to call it out, or we kind of get a little puffed up, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Now, yeah, we can be thankful our child's not involved in some of those things. But let me tell you, one thing about that's changed our life is because we do have children, quite a few between the both of us, right? You can feel that way until it comes to your house.
Right.
Until it comes to your child that comes home and surprises you with something that totally put the mat out from under your feet.
Yeah.
Now we're at a crossroads with something, aren't we?
Yeah.
When it comes to your house, now it's different. Now you see things a little differently.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can see deeper into your child than what's on the surface, right? But when we're looking on the outside, seeing that person's child, I'm just using this as an example because it's the only thing I can think of right now.
Mm-hmm.
We can puff ourselves up about it.
Yeah. And I think that...
well, I wonder how they were raised and what they, maybe, we can think all kinds of things and puff ourselves up because, well, at least I'm so, glad that at least our kids aren't doing that. Because I've done this. I've done things like, I've compared, I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to be human, okay? And if my kids listen, it's just mom. It's just being human. Well, I look at somebody else's kids and they're not struggling with this or this or this, and I'll think, well, why can't my kid? God, why do my kids have to struggle with it? Why can't my kids be like that? Look how, in the eyes of man, how successful they are.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I gotta, God helps me shut that down quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Because my children aren't that person. And my children aren't any less of a person or have any less value. Or God sees them any differently than he sees the one who's greatly successful in the eyes of what the world says success is.
Right.
Does that make sense? I hope I didn't insult her, but
I think that's the key thing that we have to understand, that they're on the same journey we're on.
It may look completely different.
And it's okay.
It will.
And where we don't see success, he does. And
that's good.
And we have to understand, he just looks at him, he looks at those kids, those folks, exactly the same way he looks at me. And his love is not...
His heart is so big of compassion and empathy for sometimes our self-imposed torment.
Yeah.
When we're in the mud of our own choices that have made a cause and effect, mm-hmm. He's there with us. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't say, I told you so. I told you so. I told you way back then that you shouldn't have went down this road. I told you so. No, we tell ourselves that. Mm-hmm. He doesn't do that.
No. In fact of the matter, I was just thinking about the prodigal son. Whenever he came back to the father, he had a rehearsed line, but the father never even let him speak it.
He stopped him.
He said,
and people say, well, he didn't really have a full change of mind there. He changed his mind when he finally saw the father for who he was.
Yeah, not
when he finally saw the father's acceptance of him, no matter what.
He came back for
that
one
is
thing.
When repentance happened.
Right.
He changed his mind.
Then he came back for one thing. He was hungry.
And he was in a mess. He was in a pig pen.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what we do?
Mm-hmm.
We start bargaining with God and give him this old script that, well, now I'm going to start going to church and clean my life up. When God's saying, I've always loved you.
That's it.
I've always been here.
But
you don't got to go do something to impress me.
I think that's the key thing. I just was sitting there as you was thinking about it, as you was talking, that was whenever the prodigal son says, whoa, my daddy loves me, period. Wow. I could just imagine him at that time. And I think that's the key thing that we have to understand. We're looking for doing more, being more, saying more, acting more better, more gooder, as my word is, trying to get ourselves to...
Or getting other people to try to do that.
Yeah. Well...
Now, we're not saying belittling the significance of our actions.
No, that's not what we're talking
because,
about at all.
in the world, there's definitely some cause and effect, and even God can prevent. Most often, He's prevented so many consequences that I probably should have had. We're not belittling that, but I think we're so focused on behavior. There's our good old grandfather clock again. It tells us
we
what
can't
time it
even
is.
see how much Father loves us.
Or them.
Yeah, or
them. The people that we're sitting here, oh my gosh, look at their lifestyle. And and it's really, God has really been giving us, I don't want to say on-the-job training, but life, how would you say it? Just changing our total viewpoints on the way we used to see certain people or certain activities and stuff that people were involved in. We're learning how to separate the behavior from the person.
That's the word right there. We put the person and the behavior as one, and that's not how Father sees it. And that's hard for people to understand. They say, well, I'm going to use a hard word, he's a murderer. But no, he's a man that committed a murder. He is not his past crimes. And
and this is something that always keeps me in check, because I like some crime documentaries. Just ask my husband. Maybe it's because I'm intrigued with what get people to where they are. But when I'm watching the TV, I can get really enraged and like, they deserve this and this and this, and I'm thinking, God's saying, those are the very people that you go in and minister to week after week, and I give you my eyes and how to see them.
Right.
So, that's always kind of going to be there. It's going to come up.
Mm-hmm.
But God's always there to remind us, wait a minute, there's more to this than what you see.
That's it.
There's reasons why people do things. And just because they've done these horrendous things, now, granted, some we don't trust.
Right.
Granted, some do need to be
in a restricted area.
Yes,
so
because they may repeat, right? If they show no change, right? Granted, there should be some things that happen. We're not saying that's not true here on earth, right? But you can still deal with the person, even though through all that, as God does. And because we have God's life, we literally can be love to them.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, we can even look at another example of that as we're kind of winding up. I think we've done a good job trying to encourage people. When Jesus was on the cross, with the thieves, he looked at the one thief and he didn't say, what did you do? Beg for forgiveness. And maybe I'll consider.
He just said, will you remember me? I mean, even our bargaining is something. Come on. The thing is, he had already remembered him, but
he already him,
even the other thief, or did the other guy do a thief? Was a thief? Anyway, the other man on the cross, even him he loved.
Yeah.
But
so it wasn't even a question about the crime. It was a question about, it was just who they were. Sorry. It was just who he was. And I think that's the thing we have to understand when we look on a person. Yeah, I totally believe that if somebody does a crime, then he has to pay the consequences. But
because that just comes naturally.
Yeah,
in this
natural.
world. I mean, like, it's just kind of the things that are set in motion.
Mm-hmm. But it doesn't change how Father feels about him, and that's.
And what can God do? Turn those consequences for our good. He does it all the time, doesn't he?
Yep. So anyway, I think that's a key thing that we just want to share is how much he loves us, period, regardless.
And don't panic. God's not panicking over people's behavior.
Just love them.
So you don't got to panic.
And you say, well, I don't have the love to do it. That's okay, because his love is in you.
And you know how we get better? We practice.
Yeah.
Don't we? We just keep practicing.
That might be good preaching next.
Yeah, we keep practicing. We get better and better.
Mm-hmm.
Letting his life flow through us.
That's it.
So, hope this encouraged you today. I know I encouraged myself again.
Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us.
Oh, and by the way, I do have these videos over on my YouTube channel. I will put the link in the comments where you can just go subscribe, and that you can, all the videos are there that we've done.
And check out her new journal that's on. Where can she find that?
It's on my website, www.conniemiller.online, or it's on Amazon.
Yeah.
Intimate Moments with Daddy God. And I'm in process of my 4th book, if my husband doesn't push me to keep going. Tell him, like, push me, because you know that procrastination. Or you can get more downloads from the Heart of Daddy God, and that's on Amazon as well.
Yeah.
And I have 2 other books, but that's my journey of understanding more and more of grace, you know, so it's a progression. So those are on my website too.
Yeah. So check them out.
All right. We love and appreciate you all.
All right.
Have a beautiful day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.